Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Brown's Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, and this is where you can come on in and get caught up on some of the latest happenings involving the Cleveland Browns and then get a take or two along the way. Thank you to everyone who has liked our episodes in the past. Hopefully this one will be one that you like as well, and to everyone who has subscribed to the channel and have supported our little show here because there's always something to talk about when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, and you guys prove that when you jump into the viewer comments and get your comments down there and make your voices heard. I really appreciate it. I love the discussion. Now, coming up on today's show, there's one breakout candidate that I forgot to mention when minicamp ended. We're going to tell you who that is. We broke down the success rate of the fifth-round picks in the NFL and who we thought might be the greatest fifth-round pick in Cleveland Browns history. So today, since it took weeks to find someone who thought taking Dillon Gabriel in the third round was a good idea, we're going to start picking apart the third-round picks. And we're going to first look at the success rate of third-round picks in the NFL, and then we're going to double down and try to decide who we think is the greatest third-round pick in Cleveland Browns history. Now, in my opinion, the guy that I chose he's one of my all-time favorites. So I may have been a little biased, but we are going to break all of that down. It's third-round pick day today. And then down in the viewer comments, we have one viewer. He says he already knows how the Browns will construct the 53-man roster heading into week 1 against Cincinnati. We're going to get to all of this, folks. But first things first, how about Isaiah McGuire as a breakout candidate in 2025? You're going to say, yeah, Davey had 26 tackles and 2.5 sacks, and he had 3 forced fumbles in 16 games last year. Thing is, he was a backup last year. Remember when Zadarius Smith was here? And then after Zadarius Smith was traded, he kind of came into his own. And 2 of his sacks came over the final 3 weeks. He had an 83.3 PFF, Pro Football Focus rating. He's expected. I mean, he's probably going to be a full-time starter this year. I mean, and you look at, you have Myles Garrett, you have Alex Wright, and you have Mason Graham and Michael Hall, and you look at these other guys that on this defensive front, man, it is going to be something else. This defense. That's why I'm so high on this defense, folks, because every breakout candidate we seem to talk about is on the defensive side of the ball, and so including Martin Emerson. And we talked about Alex Wright too. And so McGuire, only 23 years old, and he is a 4th-round pick, and he could be in line for a big, big season coming up here in 2025. Now, McGuire's a 4th-round pick, but we're going to talk about 3rd-round picks now because Dillon Gabriel's taken in the 3rd round, and who knows? He may become the greatest 3rd-round pick we've ever had in Cleveland, right? But a lot of people, after the pick was made, said, hey, you probably could have gotten him a little bit later in this draft. The Browns see something in him, and they went after him, and they took him in the 3rd round. So all this talk about 3rd-round picks got me thinking, all right, well, let's see. How successful are 3rd-round picks in the NFL? Well, here is what I found. Their chances to make an NFL roster, 75%. So if you're a 3rd-round pick, if you're a 1st or 2nd-round pick, you're pretty much guaranteed a roster spot. Unless you do something really crazy in your first training camp. Then 29% of them become starters for at least 4 years. So you're talking about 1 in every 3. 16% of 3rd-round picks develop into quality starters. But here's the thing, folks. If you're looking for an offensive lineman, 3rd round might be where you want. Almost half of them hit. Because 46% of 3rd-round offensive line picks start. So that's where you want to look for linemen, apparently. If you're looking, go to the 3rd round. So when you look at that, 75%. Okay, yeah, you're going to have higher expectations as a 3rd-round pick. I think through those first 5 picks, honestly, those first 5 rounds, you should expect to have a spot on the roster. I think when it starts to get a little dicier at 6 and 7, but I mentioned before, if a team is investing a draft pick, then they should be on the roster somewhere, in my opinion, or at least have a good shot to make the roster. So, but third round, first and second round locks, third round, pretty much a lock to make the roster. So, got me thinking, all right, well, let's go back and look at the Browns' third round pick. Who were some of the Browns' best third round picks? Again, now this is just a skimming of the list. If I missed anybody, please throw them in the viewer comments. Or if you think, like I'm nuts when I tell you who I think is the best one in the history of the team, feel free to call me crazy in the viewer comments. I could take it. All right, so here we go. Browns' notable third round picks. Linebacker Christian Kirksey. I loved him when he was here. Duke Johnson, one of my all-time. Me and my buddy would go back and forth on Duke Johnson. I love Duke Johnson. Defensive tackle Anthony Pleasant. Now Dalen McCutcheon could be in the argument for potentially best third round pick. I mean, he spent his whole career with us, and he was not just did the job, man. Just really solid. Defensive lineman Reggie Camp. Don Cockcroft. Now, he's another one who could potentially be in the conversation for best third-round pick in team history. The kicker, longtime kicker with the Browns. Back in the day, when I was a little kid, Cockcroft was still kicking. But it's like Cockcroft and Phil Dawson were the two. Those are the two names in the Browns kicking lore that always come up. Joe Schobert, remember he was solid, rock solid linebacker, and then Dick Ambrose. They called him Bam Bam. He was another great one. But to me, my personal, and if you guys think one of these guys on this list is the best, feel free. I mean, everybody has a right to their opinion. But here's like when I saw that Dave Logan was the third round pick. I'm like, oh man, I got to take Dave Logan. 119 games, 263 receptions, over 4,000 receiving yards, 16 yards a catch, and 24 touchdowns in his career with the Browns. And I wanted to be Dave Logan when I was we'd be out in the backyard or whatever playing. Like Dave Logan was one of my favorites growing up, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I did not realize that he was a third-round pick, and he was. And so I said, okay, I'll be a little selfish here, and I will make him my selection as the best third-round pick in Browns history. And so, but that just goes to show you, folks, like third-round picks, they are, Dylan Gabriel, he could easily. The Browns saw enough in him to take him in the third round, and so he could really make a name for himself in there as a third round pick. But now you got Judkins and Sampson in the mix now too. Like a lot of these guys that we took this year could really end up being longtime Browns, and really be add themselves to the list or top these lists once we get there. For best draft picks ever made, no matter what round they're taken in. Okay, so, now the one thing that we never have to worry about, whether you're third round, fourth round, whatever, it's the viewer comments. The viewer comments always rock the house. And today we will start with, now this is one of those, wow, half YouTube handle, half password, half safe code. This is crazy. Jay Paladin. Have smart sweel 5508. Rolls right off the tongue. The roster trick will be used with a different veteran, not Flacco. Flacco is one of the team's leaders and top quarterback, so he has status, and he will not get treated this way. Now, we're talking about the 54-man roster trick that Mike Florio threw out there that the Browns could use. Didn't say they will use it, but they could use it if need be when it comes down to cutting the roster down to 53, because he's a vested veteran. He wouldn't be exposed to waivers. And so he could easily work out a deal with the Browns where they say, hey, we're going to cut you and we'd like to put you on the practice squad, but then they would just bring him in every single week. He's off the practice squad. And so possible they could do it. And Jay Paladin says no, because you cannot do that to Flacco because he is a team leader. And there's part of me that agrees with that. I don't know if they do that with Flacco. Now, here's Farp Lenorp. I mean, I don't know what this could be, but it's a heck of a YouTube handle. Farp Lenorp, all one word. Talking about the 54-man roster. This I'm glad to hear, people leaning into this. Okay. Said, this is convoluted and disrespectful to Flacco's trust in them. They're not in a position like the Chiefs, the Ravens, or Bills agonizing over who the 52nd or 53rd spot should go to. And this is where this take really takes off. Listen to this. They'll probably just decide to carry 2 less wide receivers, which is what I'm guessing. Since they have Judy, sign Johnson, and have their slot guy now. Thrash apparently really looking good. Remember, we talked about Thrash. And, so he gets another year. Also, don't be surprised if they use Fannin and in the slot and Njoku on the field at the same time. We've talked about that. We've even talked about them using Fannin as a third receiver. He says, hoping Kevin works it so the best players see the field. They'll find ways not to keep all these receivers. There isn't anyone on special teams that is so fantastic like Cribbs, Metcalf, or the Ice Cube. Remember Gerald McNeil? To where they got to keep these guys at all costs. They'll carry 1 or 2 less wide receivers. Count on it. And remember, we talked about this a week or so ago when I said something's got to give. If they're going to keep 4 quarterback, something has to give, and it's going to have to come from one of these other positions. And I did mention wide receiver. I mean, and I'm right there with you, Farp Lenorp. I'm right there with you. Great take. I appreciate it. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But there will be 1 less position player than what we had last year. Because remember, like we said, they kept 2 running backs last year when the season started. But that's not going to happen this year because all 3 of those running backs will be on the roster. They kept 2 running backs last year to fit 4 quarterbacks. This year, to fit 4 quarterbacks, you're going to have 3 running backs. Do the math. I was a communications major because there was no math. That's why I'm bad at it. Okay, G-Man. So it's man with 4 N's. G-Man 112. Says Kenny Pickett is a good backup, not a starter. I watched his last year in college and those Pittsburgh Steelers games. He doesn't have the it factor. I rest my case. All right, vote against Kenny Pickett. So, but hey, the Browns went out and got him first. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just want a true quarterback competition. Best man, whoever it is, whoever plays the best and is winning games. That's who should be playing. I don't want to see the same guy going out there losing games and everybody just know like we've had to deal with the last 3 years. And so here we go. You know me. I like to end on a positive note. And so we will. Atina 5976. Or it could be Atina because it's all one word. Atina 5976. Love the show. Love the fit, Grizzer. And so I changed shirts the other day to celebrate 6,000 subscribers. We're on our way to 7,000 now. Back to the orange quarter zip. I just think it goes good with the helmet. I think that, I like it. The hat's still here. Remember from the other day, I still always have the hat. The hat's always here. But I don't know, man. Hat's kind of a little beat up. It's seen better days, but it's always here as a good luck charm. Okay, that's going to do it for today's show. Go Browns. We'll see you next time.